Good morning. Let's get some energy. How y'all doing? Like a show of hands, how many people know or have seen or experienced spoken word poetry before? Okay, it's a pretty good amount. So I'll just do a quick introduction for those of you who aren't familiar with the art form. Spoken word poetry performance poetry is not a very new art form. I'm sure some of you have read the Odyssey. I know I read the Odyssey when I was in high school. I'm sure you guys know that the epic poetry tradition, Greek poetry tradition, was spoken. I never knew about spoken word poetry until I got to Brown University. And so when I was asked to come here, I was really excited because to introduce some people who might not have experienced it before, I would have loved to know about it. I've been writing poetry for a long time, but the performance aspect was something that really excites me, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I hope that you guys, after hearing me, and will look a little bit more into spoken word and try it yourself, because I think it's a lot of fun. Is a spoken word group. Spoken word is a lot about response, call and response with the audience, and sort of creating some energy between us. So if you hear something you like, you can snap. Everybody do a little snap. You can stop the beat. And if you really like it and it's really hot, you can give a little fire. I found myself going to a lot of poems. So if you feel that, let me hear it. So what I'm going to perform for you guys this morning is the only love poem I've ever written. It's about robots. The rust always starts in the fingers, and the creak of my eyelids just barely alive, and the dust on my old top hat rubs off on the numbness. Slept too late again. I've been tossing with dreams that clang and huss like a loose bolt rolling in the dome of my brain case. Pistons pumping my wrench arm as I twist the syntax coding character circuitry with conceit until my metaphor mechanics runs like it's got oil coursing through my veins. I'm at my workbench like always, building robots by candlelight. But the faces are all fuzzy, so I hang lampshades over them to foreshadow my awakening. I slept so long that my clock talked its way to a music box lull wound out. That the bulb that lights this closet passed away as I slumbered, slumped alongside the wall. I live in a room that's as big as a stone quarry and small as a closet, full of boxes that hold things that aren't needed anymore, and I call this my workshop. See, I used to be a maker. I would create things my fingers would shape and make be. This is what I was. What I am now is a guardian, keeper of the creative, the obsolete. These boxes, they're filled with old pens and ink and film reels and jazz records. Towers of stacked discs and cassette tapes lined with magnetic memories. And pages, bound and unbound. Pages torn out pieces, scraps and crumpled balls. Pages scribbled upon and printed on and crossed out and annotated. I am the keeper of everything ever written, or all that's left of it. And I memorized it all 1,000 times. When I access my memory banks, I can almost remember how the sky used to be. And life back then was I and she in the park, and I would write restless love stories in the sunny afternoon and sing her my sonnets till long past sundown. But this happiness was just a ray of sunlight before the storm, and human is not forever. This, you see, is how the story functions. The author orchestrates plot twists and creates tragedy to establish sympathy with the readers, leaving the fringe characters broken because this is their purpose. The audience is left to understand this, but I cannot. Things like happiness, they don't keep well over time. They turn to dust and tears and are forgotten. And I've forgotten how to make happiness with these crooked, rusting fingers. It's not like riding a bicycle. They don't make those anymore, but I remember them. I wanted to write my own story this time. So I took out my heart and I replaced it with this steam engine. And when my pieces break down, I replace them too with tin and bicycle spokes and rubber bands, forgotten things that sleep in boxes. I made myself out of spare parts, and then I made a family in the image of I and she and people I used to know, so that no one would ever leave me. That they could be, I gave them generators and circuit boards. wrote their breathing in quiet ones and zeros. That they could learn, I built in flaws. That they could human, I gave them sensors to feel with and pictures of the sky and lullabies. That they could love. Love was the hardest part. It wasn't the emotion, the euphoric cybernetic response. No, that was quite simple to account for. What was difficult was teaching my creations not to add up to 100%. Only 60, and then 12,000, and 130, and then 10. The instantaneous shift from boundless joy to despair, a strange matrix of equations that change and don't line up and cannot be solved, which map unexpected connections between strangers and sever even the strongest ties at the whim of the executable. LOVE.exe. And when I click on it, life begins and they are beautiful, my creations. But they are not she. You are not she. And yet you look at me with her eyes and I almost remember how it felt like. How the story breaks down when writer and character becomes romantically involved. You, made of metal, and I, formerly of flesh, bodies together that form the shape of woundless scars. You, just a memory of what was, and my dust quintessence not compatible with your web of code. So I locked myself away in this closet, with just my top hat and my teddy bear. Watched the world from a 14-inch screen. I never asked you to love me. I just make robots.